Good afternoon, and welcome to Cuatro Puntos' live concert and presentation of Through the Eyes of Children. I'm Stephen Rader Ginsburg, Director of the Ottorino Center for the Arts and Humanities in West Hartford, Connecticut, broadcasting live from the Connor Chapel of Our Lady at the University of St. Joseph, the original and unceded lands of the Mohegan, Pequot, Scatichoke, Golden Hill Puget, Nipmuc, Lenape, and all the unrecognized Algonquin people of this area. We honor their ancestors past, present, and future, and recognize their continued existence and contributions to society. Cuatro Puntos has created today's program in partnership with Do the Right Thing, a nonprofit organization that helps children heal from violence of all types by challenging them to write about it. Each year, over 90,000 middle school students across the United States write essays, and 50 make it into a published book, which is then added to the Library of Congress's collection. During today's performance, you will hear recordings of the children who have read their essays, and musicians have responded with originally composed music. We're thrilled today to have composer Amin Mahdad, Iraqi composer and multi-instrumentalist, joining us for this presentation. Please come back and join us on Sunday, June 6th, for a full concert of Amin's music titled The Curve. Today's program has been made possible by a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities and from your generous donations. Please consider continuing to make donations to help make free, accessible programming continue. Also today, we're joined by Dr. Patrick Nicoletti, the Faculty Fellow for Through the Eyes of Children. Dr. Nicoletti will be giving some context about the social significance of this work. Dr. Nicoletti is the Chair of Human Development and Family Studies at the University of St. Joseph, a lifespan comparative, multicultural developmental psychologist specializing in resilience and risk in youth, young adults, families, and communities. Thank you, Dr. Nicoletti, for your contributions to today's concert. Lastly, I'd like to introduce you to Lisa Cohn, Program Director at Do the Right Thing.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cohn, and I am the Program Director of the National Campaign to Stop Violence. At the National Campaign to Stop Violence, we believe the best way to understand youth violence is to ask youth. This is just what we have been doing for 25 years through our flagship initiative, Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing is a program for middle school students that allows them to write about youth violence. We have read the stories of our young people who have dealt with violence in their young lives and have asked them what they think the solutions are to the problem. Their writings are a response to the following 3 questions that we pose. 1, how has violence affected your life? 2, what are the causes of youth violence? And 3, what can you do to reduce youth violence? Since our beginning, 1.2 million students have let their voices be heard through the writings that they have submitted. 85,000 students submit writings on an annual basis. Currently, Do the Right Thing is in 25 cities across America. Each year, 2 students are chosen from their city to represent the thousands of students who share their stories. These 2 become our student national ambassadors. Through the Eyes of a Child will highlight the writings of 7 of Do the Right Thing student national ambassadors from 2020. I'd like to thank Kevin Bishop and his team at Cuatro Puntos for the inspiration behind this program that brings attention to youth violence in a creative and artistic manner. I would also like to thank our 2020 Do the Right Thing student national ambassadors who had the courage to share their stories. Clearly, our youth have something to say, and it is our responsibility and our privilege to listen to their stories, thoughts, and insights about youth violence so that we can make a difference. Thank you.
We have work over, all done. I've studied and all is well, wrapped in a pretty package with a bow. I turn to my shoulder and I let my head rest on the fluffy pillow, ready to let myself slip into a nice rest. Despite a job well done, my anxiety torments me even into slumber. I lay awake for what feels like forever, hyper-fixating on a small decoration in my room. Why do I deserve life? What makes me worthy of this world? In a universe with hundreds of thousands of stars, and everyone I've ever known or ever will know is nothing but an infinitesimal speck.
Next time you see someone alone at lunch or on the playground, go sit with them, or at least say hello. No one wants to be alone. You never know how much a hello, or at least a smile, can mean to someone.
It seems that all around us, this world is getting more and more violent. Day after day, week after week, year after year. Parkland student kills 17 in school. Woman is killed during jog in Washington, D.C. How did this happen? Where is their heart? Why would anyone do that? Everyone asks these questions, but they don't see the answer. They don't see the neglect. They don't see the drug addicts and alcoholic. They don't see the worst life anybody can have. Like mine used to be. Rolling around in filth, I had bad parents. I was in a bad environment, I had a bad life. I had no idea. I thought everyone's family was like that. I didn't care. I was normal. Right? Wrong. Some people had seen our life and they cared. We were not normal. We were neglected. Before things got any worse, before anyone died, before anyone was shipped off to California, we were moved. We had been saved. We had a better life. But not everybody gets to have that. Some are left on that bad path. Some are left alone. They have no choices. They're abandoned. They bottle up their emotions, left silent for years, mad about their past because no one cared about their bad life. They reach a breaking point. those families and those lives, they should have never suffered. So how can we make sure an incident like that never occurs again? I've already told you reason one, but this one, it's already been done. We can make new safety rules. I know you think where I'm going with this. IDs, police officers, strict no violence joke rules. But wouldn't that happen after an incident like Parkland occurred? After something happened to influence it? We need something to make sure it doesn't happen in the first place. Something that takes on the root of the problem, the childhood.
Another way violence has affected my life is by not being able to visit my family who lives in Mexico. A couple of years ago, it would have been common to go every weekend. We would get together and host barbecue parties, enjoy home-cooked meal, and even celebrate our significant holidays, such as Christmas, Easter, and birthdays. Those familiar and comforting visits are long over. Because of increasing crime and gun violence, we only visit once a month at most. Because of violence, my family can no longer visit us frequently as before. It is hard only seeing your closest relatives a couple of times a year, and it is even harder when you realize it is all because of violence.
Welcome and good evening. I'm Professor Patrick Nicoletti from the University of St. Joseph. It's an honor to bear witness to the thoughts and feelings of tonight's speakers regarding youth violence. As an expert on adolescent risk and resilience, I was asked to provide academic information to help our audience understand the context of youth violence in America. Therefore, I've gathered information from across our nation, including studies conducted by the Centers for Disease Control, who view youth violence in medical terms, like an epidemic. In 2019, before the onset of the COVID pandemic, the CDC conducted the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which gathered feedback from 14,000 high school students across the US. I'm sure it's not news to most young people that the CDC found that youth violence is common and takes many forms, including bullying, physical assault and fighting, weapons use, gang aggression, sexual aggression, even conflicts with adults. To this list, I would add aggression using social media, because as you know, it has been used to promote conflict and violence towards vulnerable youth. It can even lead some youth to commit suicide. The survey also revealed that nearly 1 in 5 high school students were bullied on school property. About 1 in 7 were bullied through social media. About 1 in 12 were in a physical fight 1 or more times on school property. About 1 in 14 were threatened or injured with a weapon 1 or more times on school property. Nearly 1 in 10 didn't attend school at least one day during the 30 days before the survey because they felt they'd be unsafe at school or on their way to or from school. Meanwhile, in 2019, the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health revealed that nearly 3 in 10 youth experience verbal or psychological victimization by romantic partners. And years earlier, the American Association of University Women conducted a national online survey of nearly 2,000 students in middle and high school and found that 48% of these students experienced some form of sexual violence, again, at school. What these studies indicate is that while most students didn't experience violence, they certainly know someone who did, whether they shared their experience or not. That's an alarming number of victims struggling to cope with violence. They're all around us. While some people are tempted to dismiss youth violence as kids being kids, it often has serious and long-term consequences, and many youth are traumatized, injured, and sometimes killed. Each day, over 1,000 youth are treated in emergency departments for non-fatal assault-related injuries. That's almost 400,000 cases a year. Sadly, about 13 young people each day are victims of homicide. In fact, homicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for young people ages 10 to 24. For every act of youth violence, there's often a lingering trail of consequences for victims and society. We can never put a dollar value on the pain inflicted. But in terms of physical destruction, youth violence costs more than $1 billion each year. Even more alarming, youth homicides and non-fatal assault-related injuries result in more than $20 billion annually in combined medical costs and lost productivity costs, not including costs associated with the criminal justice system, as well as the psychological and social consequences for victims, perpetrators, their families, as well as costs incurred by their communities in terms of increased policing, families and businesses leaving, etc. Seemingly isolated acts of violence add up and impact all of us. As a psychologist, I can confirm that youth violence has serious and long-lasting effects on the physical, mental, and social health of young people. It goes well beyond physical consequences. For instance, youth violence increases the risk for behavioral and mental health difficulties for survivors, including the likelihood of repeated experiences with violence, victims resorting to violence, smoking, substance abuse, obesity, struggling with relationships, risky sexual behavior, depression, difficulties with schoolwork, dropping out of school, getting involved with the police, going to jail, and suicide. And youth violence goes beyond impacting victims. It even touches those who don't experience violence directly. It affects schools, neighborhoods, and entire communities. As a result, it increases healthcare costs, decreases property value, and disrupts social services. It drastically impacts people's sense of safety, participation in community events, school attendance, and even whether businesses want to open in some communities. As you can imagine, addressing the consequences of violence strains local resources and therefore limits what's left to address other needs. The good news is that most youth do not engage in violence. As we can see from our selected speakers tonight, many people fully understand that there is a problem and they prefer to be part of the solution. Moreover, most adults, from parents to teachers to local officials, are also alarmed. And while they don't have all the answers, we want to help. Across my career, I've worked on projects combating violence. I know that violence can be reduced and prevented. But preventing violence requires addressing factors at many levels, including the lives of individual teens, their peers, their school as a community, their neighborhood, and even how their society views violence. For instance, research shows that prevention efforts by students, teachers, administrators, parents, and community members can reduce school violence and improve the school environment. The CDC has a program called Strive that seeks to do just that. And there are many other programs that have been created to help other communities. Finally, I agree with the CDC that all youth have the right to feel safe and supported at home, at school, and other settings in their community. However, if we want things to change, then every generation must recognize youth violence and participate in addressing it. I'm inspired by what I've seen here tonight. Today's youth have great insights, they speak out, and they're ready to take action. I hope our audience, young and old, is also inspired to take this problem seriously and to join us in building a less violent and more supportive culture for youth in America. Thank you for your kind attention.
I felt like I've been living in a bubble, hidden away from the outer world. I always thought that what I saw on TV was only on TV and would never happen to me. But recently, my world was turned upside down. I was taken into reality. On August 3rd, I learned that we never really realize the importance of something until it happens to us. I write about violence as naturally as Jane Austen wrote about manners. Violence shapes and obsesses our society, and if we do not stop being violent, we have no future. Edward Bond. I was born in Pakistan. Yes, the same Pakistan that's the world's 13th most dangerous country. The same Pakistan where a young girl was shot in the head for speaking out against injustice. And the same Pakistan where 5,000 women are killed annually due to domestic violence. I hate to admit it, but the stigma on my background has changed the way people see me as a person. Most will see a young girl, but some would see an alien, an immigrant, or possibly even a terrorist. These characteristics don't define me and never will, because violence is seen everywhere, and no one should be defined by the background but by the people they choose to become.
I still remember his face, the touch, the smell, the clothing, the bathroom counter, the blood, etc. In school, my peers playfully hit each other and hug each other when they see their other friends in the hallway. People called me germophobic because I did not like to be touched, when the real reason is that each friendly touch triggers memories of what happened.
Someone close to me always told me, never keep your emotions bottled up because one day they will explode. So I want you, victims of youth violence, to remember you have a voice. I encourage you to speak up and raise awareness.
As if shootings are a never-ending stream of hopelessness, of death, of guilt. Why did those 17 deserve death? Why them? Why not me?
In conclusion, a force is slowly consuming this world as the years go by. It is negatively affecting lives and taking them. This force, known as violence, is very powerful. However, there's a stronger force, kindness. With kindness, the dark force, known as violence, can be wiped out. This force positively affects lives and it does not take them. This force comes in a variety of forms, such as volunteering in organizations around the world that work together to end violence, being a role model for your peers, giving attention to those who are neglected, giving comfort to those who are abused, promoting peace on social media, and raising the self-esteem of others. The phrase, one apple a day keeps the doctor away, is just like how one act of kindness can prevent numerous acts of violence.
The golden rule is to treat others how you want to be treated. In my opinion, all kids should be taught this. In conclusion, violence should be stopped in every way possible. Our world should be a peaceful place instead of a scary world where people have to be worried about getting bullied and judged for everything we do, or having to go to school and worry about getting hurt. Can't we all just be kind towards each other?
So we come to our last option to stop youth violence, to just be a buddy, to be a light in their life, help them through tough times. You might not be a guardian, but you can make a difference. It may not always work, but you can try. Be a joker, be a partner, and just be a friend. Try as we might, there will always be some who are left abandoned, but if we work hard together, we can reduce that number. Just be a buddy, try to make new rules, and try to help foster homes.
I grab my phone and message my mom. Goodbye. I love you, Rocky and Ingrid. Pet Samson for me. He's the last bit of me that would stay behind. If my friends survive, tell them I always loved them. Tell Thea, both of them, Abuelas and Abuelo, Emily, Carrie, Rolly, and even the sneered I love them. I'm sorry I couldn't keep myself alive.
To sum it up, youth violence has become an epidemic worldwide, and no matter who you are, there's something you can do to help. For example, realizing when the bias is being used, and helping someone when they're going through something tough, or report it when it happens. All these things can make a difference to help prevent and decrease these rates. Like Edward Bond had said, if we do not stop being violent, we have no future. The future for you and many after you.